أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله.
Today, we're going to speak a little bit about the initial contact. The initial contact. How do you initiate contact with a potential spouse? Then we're going to speak about what to ask. What to ask. What questions when you go down to her father's house, when the man comes to your house for the females, what questions should be asked, where to compromise, and that's going to be a very small topic and we can move through it fast. And then a little bit about what the next step a person can expect. Again, this is not me giving you a blueprint or this is what's going to happen. This is me saying this is what's common, and you then need to see if it works in your life. With initial contact, the main goal, and this is important for us to understand, and if we understand this, then inshallah the initial contact should be something in which is done easily and it will inshallah remain halal. The main goal when it comes to the initial contact is to allow the process of contact to the father's contact to move as quickly and smoothly as possible. Okay? You want the process of you making contact or the person that's making contact on your behalf, you want the step, which is the next step of speaking to the father, to go as fast as possible. To go as fast as possible. You don't want a lot of gray area between that. That's the main goal. There's the girl, you want to get to her father as quick as possible. For the girl, there's the man, you want to get him to your father as quick as possible. If this is the main goal in your mind, this will save you so much haram. This will save you so much haram. You find that people, what do? They find the girl, they see a girl, they like the girl. They think that it's about, I need to find out as much as I can from her right now in this first initial contact or in these contacts that I make with them before I speak to the father so that I don't waste the father's time and I don't make it go formal. This is impermissible. It is impermissible. It's not okay for a person to go to a girl and to start asking her 1,000 questions. As-Salaam alaikum. Wa alaikum as-salam. Do you want to get married? Yes, I want to get married. Okay. What's your favorite color? Okay. What's your favorite flavor of bubblegum? Like all these questions, these are things that, I've mentioned bubblegum twice in these talks now. I don't know why. Anyway, these are things that you can ask later when you're in the father's house. The first main goal is see the girl or hear about the girl, make contact with the girl either directly, and we'll go through some examples. The next step quickly, get in contact with the father. So usually there's a few options. One, if the female is a person, so let's say you see a female and from the male perspective, let's say you see a female and you think that female is going to be good for marriage. For example, she's dressed well, you're attracted to her, and let's say she's walking out of the musalla at the university, like we gave that example yesterday. So visually, the indicators are pointing towards something that's good. Again, there's a lot more that you need to find out, but the indicators are pointing towards that which is good. If this girl is someone that you can easily get information about and go directly to the father, this is best. Or directly to the brother or whatever other male mahram that's in their life. This is what is best. Let's say, for example, the girl you saw her walking out of this masjid and you were both attending one of Sheikh Nasim's classes. So you know that, okay, I can ask Sheikh Nasim and I can get her name. And it's Wollongong, there's about 75 families in this whole city anyway. So most likely by knowing the last name, I'm probably going to know her dad, her brother, her uncle, her nephew, someone that is related to her. Because it's quite easy here. Or you can ask and find out the information. Or maybe she has her contact number saved with the sheikh. So you can get the sheikh to go and send her a message and say, can we get your dad's number for this reason? The point is, if you're able to avoid being the one to walk directly up to her and ask her for her father's number, this is always going to be best. Again, we want to build as many barriers between us and shaitan, between us and the haram as we can. So if you can avoid having even that initial contact with the girl outside of her father's house, this is always what is best. This is always what is best. If you can get her dad's number without even having to talk to her, you call the father, As-Salaam alaikum. Wa alaikum as-salam. I saw your daughter and I'm a person that wants to get married and I was impressed by the way that she dressed and this is something that I'm looking for. I just want to know, is it yani, is it something that she's interested in right now, in getting married? He can either say to you, no, my daughter doesn't want to get married, then khalas, that's it, you shut the phone. Or he can say to you, yes, no problem, and then you go and you take the next step. All right? So the best option is to get straight to her father without even having to go to her. Let's say it's a different situation. Let's say it's a different situation. Let's go to the example of walking out of the university, the musalla at the university. Because the reality is there's thousands of people at the, hundreds of thousands of people that attend that university, thousands of Muslims. Just by seeing her walk past, it's going to be very, very difficult for you to speak to anyone that's probably going to be able to get you directly to her father or someone else that is a mahram. If it's possible, good. But let's say it's not possible. Is it Islamically permissible for the man to walk up to the girl and say As-Salamu alaikum and request the father's number? Yes, it's Islamically permissible. For you to go up and say As-Salamu alaikum, and again, it's the bare minimum words needed and it's as direct and simple as possible. It's not what is the funniest way that I can ask for her dad's number, all right? Or what's the way in which is going to make me sound the most charming? You know what I mean? So you halfway through the thing, you're just bringing up stories and you're talking about it. No. It's, for example, Assalamu alaikum sister, wa alaikum as-salam. If you're interested in getting married, is it all right if I have your father's number? It sounds so awkward, I know. It's kind of like, this is weird. But I'm saying there's no option to go directly to the dad. You say, Assalamu alaikum sister, wa alaikum as-salam. I was wondering if I could have your father's number. I'm someone who is interested in marriage. She can either say to you, that's it, that's the end of your words. She can either say to you, and what she should say to you is one of two things. It's either, yes, my father's number is 04 blah, 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 and you write it down, and then you say, Assalamu alaikum, and you go your own way. Or she says, I'm not interested in marriage. And that's where it ends there. So you have those two options. If you can go directly to the dad, best option. Best option. If you can't go directly to the dad, and you have to speak to the sister, Assalamu alaikum, then that's an option. If you can avoid that and say, I'm going to bring my sister the next day with me to university. I went to university with my sister. And my entire purpose when I was at university with my sister is just her to find me a wife at the time. It was so funny. It was just like, can you go ask that girl? No, I can't go and ask that girl. But if you can go and bring your sister and ask her to go and speak to her, that's khair. But again, it's not always something that's realistic. Maybe you don't have a sister. Maybe your sister's too young. Maybe it's not going to work out. There may be a situation where you have to make that initial contact. Yes, you make it, but you keep it as simple as possible. Yes, Rasikh.
What if she doesn't have a father? Do you go to her brother?
Yeah, when I say, and this is important, wallah, barakallahu fiqh, Rasikh, because I'm giving general examples. Translate the word father to whatever's necessary. If your father has passed away or he's estranged from you, translate that to grandfather. Or if you don't have a grandfather, translate that to, and if you have a son, obviously he's the next in line, but you don't have a son because most of the people I'm sure that are listening are going to be younger people who are still single, then translate it to brother. Just know what I mean by father. It just means wali. When I say father, I mean guardian in the general sense. That's what I mean by that. Yeah.
What if there is father, but she's not in good contact with her father? Do I still need to go to father? Or
No, the father, there has to be a serious situation that takes away the guardianship of the father. Just because the mum and the dad are divorced and the mum spent the entire time telling her kids that their dad's a scumbag and don't talk to him, and he's maybe he was a scumbag, but him being a little bit of a scumbag, just because he disagreed with the mum or because there was the divorce and it was a bit of an ugly divorce, doesn't mean he's not her wali anymore. You know what I mean? So it depends on the situation. Then you have for example with the sisters. Is it, so we look from the sisters' perspective. Is it okay for the sisters to express the fact that they want to get married? Yes, it's okay for the sisters to express the fact that they want to get married. Similar situations. Let's say the sister sees the man at the masjid. So she goes to the sheikh and says, the brother that sits in the front row that wears the blue Moroccan abaya and he's got the blue and what color would you call that, Tommy? Is that a color? Blue and kind of purpley or whatever. The blue and purplish sunnah cap, he's fine. Is it, and he looks good. Do you think he's interested in marriage? The sheikh may say, yeah, I'll go and ask him. Or the sheikh may say, give me your dad's number and I'll give it to him. If he's interested, he'll call. For the sisters, they can also express. They can also go and they can express whether they want to get married. And this is why it's important for the sisters to speak to their parents. Speak to your parents. Go have your parents talk to people when you want to get married. When you know you want to get married, when you're ready for marriage, let them go out and let them look. Let them look for you because they will be the ones that go out and look. You as a sister, this is just personal advice. If you're able to avoid you ever having to approach someone and say, listen, I'm interested in marriage, this is my dad's number, this is best. So let's say for a sister, she sees the man at the university and she's interested in marriage. It's always better for her to try to bring a male mahram and then have him contact and speak to the person. Or like, for example, I'll give you an example just because it makes me sound good as well. One of the girls that was a potential that I was considering marriage, or one of the girls that I went and asked for, she actually expressed that she wanted me to ask for her. I had never seen her, but she used to see me at university. I used to go to university wearing my thobe. So she used to see me. So what did she do? She told her friend to speak to one of my friends and just say, listen, I've got a friend. She's interested in your friend. This is her dad's number. If he's interested, call. So that's also an option for the sisters. But as I said, the objective is what? The objective is to move the process from your initial contact to speaking to her father as quick as possible. This is the point. All of this, let me get your Snapchat and you talk on Snapchat. All of this text to see if we're compatible first or spend a bit of time on the phone, none of this is permissible. None of this should be done. And it's only in maybe very, very rare circumstances that maybe a person can get a fatwa to say that maybe they need to talk in private a little bit first. This is something, I'm not giving the fatwa, I'm saying this is something that maybe some people will find. But in general, you're a 20-year-old girl, he's a 21-year-old boy. No, it's not this, I'm going to text him for a month to see if we're compatible first, or we're going to follow each other on Instagram. Let's see if our posts, match up and line up. No. You just move and you get to know each other in the father's house. In general, I'm not going to say these sites are impermissible. Again, I'm not saying they're permissible, I'm not saying it's impermissible. I'm not giving rulings here, okay? But sometimes some people use these sites as a means of finding a spouse because maybe their situation is harder. Let's say she's divorced and 3 kids, he's divorced and he's got a few kids. It's not as easy for those individuals to find spouses. There's not many people in the area that maybe are going to be open to it. So maybe they use the websites to kind of broaden their horizon and try to find. Regarding how they would go about it, what they should do is usually what happens is they put like a little biography. I'm this age, I'm this tall, I like these hobbies. They give some details. If you read about that girl and you like that girl, or she reads about the guy and like the guy, you reach out and just say, the guy should say, can I get your father's number? Or she should say, this is my father's number. And that's how it should end. If there's no picture there, all right? Or, and this is also an example that I was going to speak about, but I forgot. Let's say in the example where you hear from a sheikh, you haven't seen the girl. The sheikh comes to you and says, I know a girl that wants to get married. I believe she's a good girl, and I believe you're a good boy. Do you want me to get her dad's number? A lot of times what the question is should I try to see her first, or should I go and visit first? Should I just go and see her at the dad's house, or should I go out of my way to be able to visibly see her beforehand? To me, my advice is let that decision be made by her father. That's my personal advice. Let that decision be made by her father. So what should you do? You hear about the girl. She sounds good. Islamically, she's got the recommendations, right? That's one tick. A 1/2 tick already because you have to ask questions. Now you need to know if you're attracted. You as a man have the confidence to go to her house, see her in her house, and if it doesn't work out, you're not attracted, have the confidence to make the phone call afterwards and say, As-Salaam alaikum. Don't say, As-Salaam alaikum, your daughter's not pretty. No, you say, As-Salaam alaikum, there's no nasib. It's just, I don't think it's going to work out. Khair, that's fine. Or you call, let's say you call and you find her attractive, her dad will say, As-Salaam alaikum, sorry, it's not compatible, it's not going to work. So I think as a man, don't be too scared to go to a girl's house and ask for her if the details sound good even if you haven't seen her. Let the dad make that decision, because sometimes what do the dads say? Because they don't want to make it overly formal first with you not having even seen her or her seeing you. Sometimes the dads say, no problem, but let you guys see each other. Sometimes what they'll do is they'll say, I'm going to send a photo of my daughter to the sheikh. The sheikh, I'm going to send a photo of my daughter to her, and you send my photo of my daughter to the sheikh, and you send, and the sheikh will send, or you send a photo of yourself to me. You each look at each other, and then if there's attraction, then you come and you visit. That's fine. Sometimes fathers don't like to send the photos of their daughters. Completely understandable. So sometimes I've heard of fathers saying, listen, on Saturday, I'm going to take my daughter to so-and-so cafe. We're going to be sitting for coffee, me and her. You can, if you want, come into the cafe, go get what you want, quickly look, she'll look, and then you separate. I know it sounds a little bit like awkward. Everyone's going to be like, can I get a diet cappuccino coffee? It's what I mean is sometimes that can happen. It depends on the context, you know what I mean? Sometimes you go and you haven't seen the girl. It may work out or not. Sometimes the dad will want you to see the girl first and her see you. Again, that's something that you should discuss with the father. Yeah, Karim. At her dad's house, yeah. At her dad's house. You go and you go to her dad's house, and she will show her face. No, you can go from the beginning. You can see her face. From the beginning, you can see her face. Yeah.
Sorry, it won't work. How can
it just has to happen. Realistically, it's very, very hard to avoid a little bit of heartbreak. It's just important for us to understand the concept of the qadr of Allah Azza wa Jal. The qadr of Allah that khalas, what's written for you is going to get to you, and what's not written for you is not going to get to you. If you can't go into every visit and be like, oh, if I don't want to visit because I might not like her, that's a reality.
From Allah there is no, because
No. You go and ask. No. Don't play a game. Don't sincerely go there to visit and you're like, and you go and you ask the questions. If it works out, it works out. But you're not like, I don't want to break her heart, so I'm going to get into this marriage with this girl that I'm not attracted to, or vice versa. No, obviously not. A person's not going to be held to account by not agreeing to marry someone for the right reasons. Yeah, kidding. Of course you can tell the father, but he can say, go sack yourself. You're playing the same game. Like you can say to the father, no, I don't want to fight, I want to see her in person. And the dad can say, cool story, and hang up. Like it's you run the risk. You run the risk, you know what I mean? Yeah, they're going to send realistic, and this is advice. If you're going to send the photo, send the most normal photo. Like she's fooling herself and he's fooling himself if she sends a photo fully maked up, in full makeup. And you should take that as an indication of, then maybe that's not the girl for you anyway. You know what I mean? But let's say she makes it look so natural that, like, for example, sometimes I can't tell makeup. So she makes it look so natural, but then eventually she takes the makeup off and she doesn't look attractive. That's going to cause issues for her. Same way with you. Obviously send photos. Send natural photos. Send natural photos. Khair? All right, boys. What to ask? All right? You've gotten into a house, alhamdulillah. Now, what are some of the questions in which you should ask? Every single one of you, wallahi, this is very, very important. Before you go and ask for the girl, have questions either physically written down or at least memorized in your mind that you're going to ask. Don't go into the visit and like, I'm just gonna freestyle this. You know what I mean? I'm just going to freestyle it, and whatever comes to my mind, that's what I'm going to ask. No. No, you're going to be nervous. I don't care how confident you are, you're going to be nervous during that first visit. And for the girls, like this is for both ways. Girls, you're going to be nervous during that first visit. You should have pre-planned questions, a pre-planned checklist. And it should be T-based, priorities as well. These are the main questions. If he doesn't even make it past these questions, if she doesn't even make it past these questions, I know that the rest of the visit is probably just going to be a formality, a bunch of nice words before each other leave. You have it, the questions. These are questions that indicate to things that they must have or that they must be. These are questions that indicate towards things that I would love for them to be. These are things that indicate to things that I would want them to be. These are things that indicate that I would prefer for them to be. Like, you have it, whatever way you want to break it down, non-negotiable, negotiable, deal breakers, whatever way you break it down, have that set. Have that set and have that plan so that when you go in there, you're not nervous and stumbling. Like I say with everyone, when they say, okay, I want to do a khutbah. I want to prepare my khutbah. I say to them, brother, type your khutbah out word for word. Type it out. Type out your pauses. Type out your pauses. Where you're going to pause. Type out the joke you're going to make. Type out like all of it. Why? Because when you get nervous, your mind gets bogged and you get boggled. Whereas when a person's been given a khutbah for years, khalas, they might have an ayah written, a hadith written, a general gist of it, and then they get up there, and because they're not nervous, when you're not nervous, you can just speak. You can just speak. You're not nervous, you just say whatever whatever is good, you can just speak kind of from the top of your mind. But you're going to be nervous on that visit, especially that first one. Have those questions written down. What type of questions should you ask? Obviously, it's based on your preferences as well, but there's some things that I think that people should prioritize. Obviously, questions that indicate towards their level of religion. Again, you have the first indicators, the things that you saw visually, the way they dress, symbols of Islam on them, the way they talk, the way they walk. But then there's extra things that maybe you're not going to be able to see. Yani, for example, ask the question, ensuring. Don't just assume, do you pray all of your prayers? Like that's the first, one of the first questions that you should ask. Like, are you Muslim? Yeah, all right, cool. We know that. You should know that. You shouldn't have to ask. But almost the next thing that you should ask is, just clarifying because it's important, do you pray all your prayers? They should obviously, inshallah, hopefully they say to you, yes, I pray all my prayers, alhamdulillah. That's an important question because if their answer is, I do, but sometimes I skip Asr here because of work and blah, blah, blah. My advice for anyone to be like, that's not the person that you want to marry. That's not the person. That should be a deal breaker straight away. Ask them questions about where they, like what masjid do you go to? What masjid do you go to? And if they say, what's a masjid? You can be like, all right, pause, As-Salaam alaikum. Like that's a weird thing, especially from a man. So you ask those questions, like it sounds obvious, ask. If it's important to you, again, this might not be for everyone. Ask them, do you study? Like not everyone's a student of knowledge. Not everyone's a student of knowledge. They pray, they know what they have to do, they learn from their parents. But if it's important for you, ask them, do you attend lessons? What lessons do you attend? Who's your sheikh? These things will indicate to their level of religiosity. Ask them about how they dress, even though you can see it. Ask them about how they dress. Because from the male perspective, anyone can wear abaya. Anyone can wear abaya. Anyone can wear like a ta'iyah, or anyone can wrap their head. It could be just they felt like doing it that day. If it's important to you the way they dress for the male, I know it's like less as long as they cover the aura, ask. But especially for the males when it comes to the females. Just because you saw her at uni wearing the jilbab, doesn't mean she always wears the jilbab. Know that, wallahi, the jilbab, if you get a bangs down, know the jilbab has become something so many sisters throw on because it's just quick. It's just quick. She's got her pajamas on, so then she throws a jilbab on top of it. This could be that person. If this is important to you that she wears jilbab or that she covers properly, which my advice is that it should be, you should ask, listen, I see that you were wearing jilbab that day and I see that you're wearing jilbab now. Is this regularly how you dress? This is the way that you dress. I don't want a surprise. Today it's jilbab, tomorrow it's tight skinny jeans. You don't want a surprise. So ask those type of questions. If there's sins that are apparent, ask questions about them. They might not be to you automatically a deal breaker. They might not be. Let's say, for example, it kind of looks like you're 50-50, does she pluck her eyebrows or not? She's got eyebrows, they're shaped, but you're not sure. Like a thing. If you feel comfortable, like you can say to her, it looks like your eyebrows are plucked. Is this something that you do? If that's a deal breaker to you, then it's a deal breaker. But you ask the question. It indicates towards the level of religiosity. And then you can ask, let's say everything else is good, but you feel like that thing, it's not good, but you don't want it to be a deal breaker. You can ask questions like, okay, but is that something that you know it's haram? She can say, yeah, I know it's haram. Is that something that you're actively trying to improve on? Yeah. Do you know that, okay, we're going to get married. I'm the only one that you really need to worry about how you look for. So you don't need to do it anymore. She might say, you know what? Well, I'm never going to do it again. And khalas, like that might for you be sufficient for you. Again, but you're asking questions about their deen that's going to indicate towards their level of religiosity. There's many questions. Anyway, yeah, yes, sir.
So, raising a deal breaker, or
I would say it is, in my opinion. Again, everyone needs to know their level, and everyone needs to know what's important at that time. For me, if the girl is sitting there and she's asking the husband, and this is a very good question, wallahi, this is a good example that I should give. She should ask, what's our living condition going to be like? because it's something that's practical. And then she should hope from that to understand if he says, yeah, I own a house. All right, beautiful, you own a house. How do you own that house? How do you own that house? If he says, oh, I took out a mortgage, my advice to the sister is that she shouldn't marry a man like that. That's my advice. Because know that's the house you're going to live in. The barakah of your wealth that comes in is going to be affected by that. So to me, that yes, my advice would be that that's a deal breaker. But should that be a deal breaker to say, okay, get out? Maybe she can say to him, all right, how about this? I'm interested, but I won't live in a house with riba. Why don't you sell that house? Sell that house, pay it off. I'm happy to live in a granny flat, like the smallest house. Say, pay the most little amount of rent, but I won't live in riba. So you can, again, there's negotiations that can be made in that situation. But again, each person needs to know themselves. Also, questions about family dynamics. These are questions that you can ask. If it's important to you. Some people are happy to be like, oh, I'll visit my parents once a week. If she feels like coming and visiting or not, that's up to her. And just as long as she doesn't expect me to go visit her parents, I'm going to be happy. If that's the life that you live, good. That's why I say if it's important to you. But asking questions like, are you close with your family? Are you close with your family? Do you spend a lot of time with your family? It's good to know. It's good to know for two reasons. One, if you like her to be close to her family, that's good. But then she might say, I can't survive 3 minutes without my mother. And then you're like, all right, but how's that going to work? She might say, listen, it's only going to work because you're going to have to let me visit my mum every single day. You might be like, listen, I'm happy for you to be close to your mum, but I don't really want my wife to go visit someone every single day. So this is, again, and this is the man's right. Islamically, it's his right to, within reason, to tell the wife when she's allowed to leave the house and when she's not allowed to leave the house. I just lost all the female audience. All of them that liked me up until this point, now they hate me. But anyway, that's the male's right. So this is a question. If she says, I can only survive by seeing my mum every single day, and you're like, okay, but I don't want you to leave the house every day. If that's important to you, you ask questions like that so that you can find that information. If you, vice versa as well, you might say, it's important to me that my wife and my kids come and visit my parents every second day, for whatever reason it might be. Discuss that then so that you don't have a shock in the future. You know what I mean? Anything, do you understand? Questions related to the family dynamic. If it's important to you, ask that. Also, ask questions about future expectations. For example, you might be a person that plans to, let's say whether you are or not, but you might be a person that plans to live overseas. You want to live overseas. Let's say you're a student from overseas and you want to get married to a girl that's here. And your expectation is you want to go back home and work over there. This is something you should discuss. Not 1 year down the line, it's like, pack your bags, we're going back to Lebanon. She'll be like, well, I didn't know that was the plans. That was the plans. It's easier for you to discuss it when? To discuss it then if you have future plans. Doctor, did you have a question? Realistically, you can't. But this is why all you can do is go based on the visual indication. If this person looks and sounds religious, that's all you're ever going to know. You don't know if they're telling the truth or not, but you will never know. You will never know if a person's telling the truth. What you should do is ask the questions, and from the best ways to know if they're telling the truth or not is ask people around them for references. This is very, very important. Ask people around for references. Ask, let's say, for example, like when I asked for my wife, my father-in-law, I think he called maybe every single sheikh in all of New South Wales and just said, you know Ali? No? Okay, cool. You know Ali? Yes. You like him? Yeah, he's all right, cool. Like he asked a lot of references. So me sitting there and saying, I attend classes, I study, things like that, he went and got references from those people and he was able to find out that I was telling the truth. But is there ways for the male or the female to lie if they wanted to? Yes. I can easily say to the female, I never intend to go and live overseas. In the back of my head, I know that it's a lie. She will never be able to know whether it was a lie or not until the moment that it happens. But then I'm going to suffer because now I have to go through the argument of trying to convince her, etc. Whereas I could have saved myself that time by just being upfront. And that's why it's important for everyone to be honest, because eventually it's going to come back. If you say to him, yeah, I'm happy to visit your parents every second day, if that's what makes you happy, but in the back of your mind, it's like, that I'll just say that to him now till we get married. yani you're the one that's going to have to deal with the argument later. You know what I mean, Doctor? It's very hard to know if someone's being honest or not. But you just hope that you pick someone that is religious and that they would be honest at that time. Yani if you plan to work in a certain field, and this is especially important for the sisters, yani the sisters know that eventually your husband will have the right to tell you if you're allowed to go out and work or not. That's going to be the husband's right. If working for you is so important, you've always dreamed about being a midwife, then bring that up then. Bring that up, just say, listen, you know that I want to be a midwife in the future, so I would like to work. Yani, at least he now has the opportunity to say, oh, listen, I don't want my wife to work and walk away, and you guys have saved yourselves the headache. Or he can say no problem, and then the discussion comes back up when it is in the future. Yani discussions like about kids. Wallahi, this is important, especially in our times now. There's so many people, even from our culture, where they're like, yani 2 kids and that's it. 2 kids, that's max. Whereas, yani sometimes from the sisters, or even from the brothers, because they don't want to, like, they fear the cost of it. If your dream is that you're going to have a whole soccer team and you want 11 kids, then bring that up. Have a discussion about it. Listen, how many kids do you want? What's your kind of view on kids? You're good with kids? I want to have a lot of kids. Have those type of discussions. Sometimes, and this is something that is common now, some individuals, whether both of them or one of the 2 of them, they feel like they want to wait a little bit after marriage before having kids. Ask that question. Yani he maybe in his mind, he wants to have a kid as soon as possible. Yani if he can make it happen on the marriage night, that's when he wants the kid to be conceived is the word. That's when he wants the kid to be conceived. Yani in her mind, she's like, no, I would like to wait a year to get to know him. Have those type of discussions. Yani the type of life you want to live. Have those discussions, etc. All of those type of things. And then also questions to make sure that your personality match. Any questions to make sure that your personality match. Whether that's kind of like asking them questions that's going to test the way that they answer, or if you're very, 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 very interested in having an intellectual type wife. Some people are like that. Some people are like, I love to talk about current events and politics. And for some reason, they want to talk about that with their wives. That's some people have that type of mindset, or vice versa. Ask questions that ask her like, what do you think about like politics? Are you into it? Like, are you into current events? Do you like history? I love history, and I want to talk to someone about history. Whether or not these are deal breakers, that's up to you. But I mean, if they're important, you might as well ask. You have the time to ask questions. Ask those questions. With this said, just I wanted to note something that a lot of what you're going. So there's 2 things I actually wanted to know. A lot of what you're going to get from that person is more in the way that they act and how they answer the question than from what they say anyway. Know that, wallahi. Like if she answers all the questions right, and I'm saying for some people, for example, if she answers all of the questions right, but she answers it in the loudest, screaming way possible, some men might be like, listen, that's not what I like. I'm more into like a timid girl. If he answers all the questions right, but he answers it in the most condescending way, like obviously, like that every single time, and you're like, listen, I can't handle that type of condescending personality, you're going to pick up a lot from the way they act. And if she sits shy, if he sits respectfully, the way she looks and she listens, even wallahi, a good indication for a lot of men is look at her, not like awkwardly, but pay attention to her when her father's speaking. If she's the type that she butts in when her father's speaking and talks over him, or he says something to her and she disagrees with him in front of everyone, this might indicate to something that's a little bit bad. Same thing with him and his mother. If every time his mother wants to recommend something, he's like, no, we're not going to do it that way. Again, this might indicate towards how he's going to be as a husband. So you will get a lot from a person if you're wise enough and mature enough. That's why I said maturity is important, from the way the people answer the questions, and the way that they act. So these are just examples. Wallahi, some people might argue and say that it's better to not ask many questions. Just get the basics done. Wallahi, and sometimes I feel like this is a good argument. Get the basics out of the way. You pray, this is what I like, a few questions or whatever it is. Get the basics done, and then khalas, when you get married, you're going to have to adapt to each other anyway. But I'm just giving you options of things to think about before you go into it. Yes. Yeah. In the presence, meaning with that there's no khalwa. What does that mean? it doesn't mean that the entire visit, it needs to be me, the dad, and her. Doesn't mean that. It's Islamically permissible. At the first visit, most of the time it will be like that because the dad's going to have questions. He's going to want to see physically whether you're appropriate or not. But down the line, whether it's towards the end of that first visit or later on, what might happen is you and them sit in the living room, you and the female sit in the living room, away from each other obviously, like at a distance, and the dad sits in the room adjacent to it. And the door's open. So realistically, he can walk in at any time. If he really wanted to, he could listen and hear what was being said. So there can be some privacy, that's fine. But it has to be within the knowledge of the father and or her wali, whoever the guardian is, and where they need to be in a place where shaitan can't come and tempt you. You know what I mean? Like if I'm here and the girl's there and the dad's in the next room, shaitan, no matter what he says, he's not going to convince us to be physical in any way. You know what I mean? But that's the point. A question from one of the sisters is it true that a person's true personality only exposes itself down the track into marriage? No, it's not that it's their true personality, but more of their personality is going to show down the track. Like we say, if you truly want to judge a person, judge them when things are hard. That's the real test. And it's very easy right now for us all to be happy when we're having a chill time. And when he comes to ask for your hand, yes, it's nerve-wracking, but everyone's kind of happy. It's a happy moment. It's something that is good. Their personality is going to seem cheerful. They're going to show you from their personality. But are you going to know from that if they are the type of person that snaps straight away? Realistically, you're not going to know everything before you move in with each other. What you hope is, like I said, that you ask the right questions and you get the right references to indicate towards the fact that that person is a good and suitable person, so that even their bad personality traits and bad habits down the line, it's still something that can be dealt with. Be dealt with. So it's not that their true personality, but more of their personality is going to show. And trust me, more of their faults are going to show as well. Their faults will show. You are going to find faults in your husband, and the husband is going to find faults in the wife. Between the wife and the potential wife and husband, talking alone on the phone, no, they can't. But let's say he is the father can hear the conversation, then this is something that can be permissible. Or they're on like a WhatsApp group with all three of them and just to ask questions. This can be like the father is there. The father is there and he's the wali is there and he can hear what is being said and monitor it. But for them to be in the room by themselves talking, the issue is he can't. The dad might be able to hear what the daughter's saying, but he can't hear what the male is saying. You know what I mean? So the father needs to be able to hear what's happening. Oh, this is the question. All right, can you ask? I was gonna try to avoid this question. Can you ask about the history? Islamically, let's say history in general. Islamically, you shouldn't necessarily ask about the sins of a person. Unless it's open in front of you. You know what I mean? So don't ask, or did you used to listen to music? Or like whatever it may be. Did you used to tell a lot of lies? Don't ask questions that's going to require them to expose themselves unless there's a reason. Like you heard her listening to music on the way to uni or whatever it is. So you ask a question about it. But in general, don't ask about things that if they've repented from it, now it's not going to affect your relationship. What should you ask about, or can you ask about? You can ask about things that even though it was in the past, can still affect you now. From some of the things that the ulama have mentioned, or some of the things, I had this conversation with Sheikh Nasim, subhanAllah, that people can ask about. There's an indication towards the fact that the other person, got around a lot. You know what I mean? Everyone gets what I mean when I say got around a lot. The indication towards the fact that that person got around a lot. That can be something that can affect you, especially nowadays, where there's certain illnesses that can spread, even though when it comes to illnesses and things like that, each person is obligated to reveal that. So if there's a justifiable reason for you asking, like you heard things, then ask. But if it's this girl that you saw at the masjid, and if all things indicate towards that that they're a virgin or whatever it may be, then don't go out of your way to ask the question. It's only if there's a valid reason to ask it. You know what I mean? And the person should, if they believe that it's important for the other person to know, they should be honest with it. But if it's not important, let's say he asks, for example, did you used to listen to music? The person can refuse to answer, or they can even like bend it, to get around it. Like, no, why would you ask such a question? That's a silly question. Ha 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 ha. Next question. You know what I mean? You can go around it so that the person doesn't expose themselves or tell a direct lie. Where should a person compromise? And the next two are going to be a little bit quicker, so that inshallah we can finish. Where should a person compromise? No one that you're going to ask for is going to be perfect. Just know that everyone's going to have faults and everyone's going to have issues. You're not going to ask a person and they're going to tick 100% of the boxes that you set out in your criteria. So where should you compromise? Obviously, just as maybe a rule that you can keep into your mind, that if the person that you're asking for is someone that has good religion and good character, and you think that they can fit into their lives, into your life, and something comes up which you feel like it's not going to affect your deen, or it's not going to be a very dramatic effect in your life, then you can consider compromising it. As long as it's not going to affect your deen or the future deen of your kids, or it's not going to affect your life so dramatically, then you can consider compromising. We'll give some examples. Let's say, for example, you ask them, do they pray 5 times a day? And they say no. Is this something that you should compromise with? Personally, I would say it's not something that you should compromise with. Let's say they show bad character towards their parents when you're there. Is this something that you should compromise with? This is not something that I feel like you should compromise with. Let's say the sheikh that told you about him said that he's 6 foot, but you saw him and he's actually 5'11", and you always wanted a guy 6 foot plus. Should you compromise? I would encourage being a little bit lenient and compromising. All right, Karim? So you have hope. All right. Let's say, or like for example, he makes 90K a year, but the type of lifestyle that you want to live, and I know both of these examples is from the sister's perspective, and I apologize, this is just the ones that came to my mind. Let's say he makes 90K a year and you really wanted 110K a year, like that's the type of lifestyle that you calculated. Should you compromise? Probably. You want to have kids immediately and she wants to wait 1 year. If everything else is good, is that something that maybe you can compromise on? Maybe it's something that a person can compromise on. Like the example, these examples to show, they don't affect your deen in any way, and also they don't really affect your type of lifestyle. Let's say, and this is an example. This is one that maybe will differ based on each person. Let's say they don't know how to read Arabic. They don't know how to read Quran in any way, shape, or form. Is this something that a person should compromise? To each their own. Some people might say, I'll compromise, but I'll set it as a condition that they agree, not like a condition of marriage, but just like, listen, like I'm happy to get married, but please just let's agree that you're going to start learning to read Arabic now and learn to read Quran. That could be one perspective. Some people might be like, no way, being able to read Quran, it's too important to me. You know what I mean? So it depends. Sometimes the men might say, it's not a big deal from my wife's perspective. It's all good because I can teach my kids the Quran anyway, or I can take them to learn. To each their own when it comes to where a person should compromise on or not. So I'm not going to get into that topic too much because each person has their own things. But again, if it affects your deen, don't compromise. If it's going to affect your life dramatically and you feel like I'm going to fight with them every day about it, don't compromise. Anything below that, then you can see whether you want to compromise or not. Yes, Farouk. Like, if you don't have anywhere to live, I would encourage not getting married. Like, if you can live with your parents and your parents are happy, you should mention that to her, and if she's happy with it, then do it. But mention it to her. Don't say I got a mad house. It's got 4 bedrooms. And like, it's true, but I don't own it. It's my parents' house. Like, no, be honest. Be honest. Listen, I want to live with my parents, inshallah. You made me laugh. Sorry. One of the sisters asked, if you're married and your husband is strict on you wearing niqab, but did not discuss the niqab before getting married, can she refuse because she is not comfortable for it at the moment? Again, that's a question. But my encouragement will always be for a sister that if the husband is encouraged you to dress in a way that is better, is good, that do it. It may be hard at the start, and you may feel like you're not ready for it at the moment, but wallahi, just know that when you start, Allah Azza wa Jal will put barakah in it. Allah Azza wa Jal, no one starts doing good and then Allah Azza wa Jal just leaves the person. No. You're going to start, shaitan's going to come and he's going to waswis. The people are going to come and they may even attack you, but you know that Allah Azza wa Jal has you. You know that Allah Azza wa Jal has your back and Allah Azza wa Jal is pleased. So let's say the husband, this is an encouragement. This is not a ruling. It's not me saying you have to. It's not me saying you don't have to. This is me saying from my perspective, what would I encourage? I would encourage the sister is patient. Know that her husband is encouraging her towards that which is good. And if she does it, A, she gets rewarded for doing the niqab, and B, she will also get rewarded for being an obedient wife. Being an obedient wife. And being an obedient wife is from the main ways in which a woman will be given Jannah. From the main ways in which a woman will be given Jannah. This is something in which I would encourage personally. And some of the ulama say that the niqab is obligation anyway. But again, this is not a rule. Any questions about compromising? Compromisation? Compromising. No? Finally, the next step. I've got to readjust my seating. The next step. Alhamdulillah, you went, you saw the girl, you liked the girl, you asked the questions, and all is going good. What is the next step? Obviously, and I know I've said this a lot, but I just want you guys to understand that this is the reality. I like to tell you the reality and then give you examples that maybe will bring it closer to your mind. Let's say the next step is going to be very determined on your culture and your family practices. What is your culture and your family practices? For some, the normality is that you go and you ask, and then you ask for, let's say, a few weeks, and then once you know that, okay, this is probably going to work out, sometimes the norm for some families, they do an engagement. They do a little dinner between the families, just so that maybe the family members of yours that haven't met her yet can meet her, and vice versa, the family members of his the family members of yours that haven't met him can meet him. So that's the norm. So they do an engagement, and then they wait and they do the nikah later, and then they move in together. This is fine as long as there's no haram at any of those parties, and it's within the Islamic guidelines. This is something that's fine. For some, they do they skip the engagement party and then they just do a nikah and then they move in together immediately. Some skip an engagement party, they do a nikah and then they stay living separately for a while, but because technically they're married, they can go out together, get to know each other better, and kind of live a half married life, but still living separately. And then eventually they move in together afterwards. Some do a nikah and then later on they don't move in together. Then before they move in together, they do a wedding. This is all cultural norms in which is mubah. It's mubah. You can do these things as long as obviously what? There's not haram or innovations taking place at those things. Anwar, yes. The average time, it varies so much, man. It varies so much. But I would encourage not pushing it too much. And my encouragement for people is don't make the visits go on for 6 months. Why? Let me tell you why this is my encouragement, is eventually you run out of questions. Wallah, you run out of questions. And what happens when you run out of questions? Things get a little bit boring. What happens when things get a little bit boring? You start to think that it's because of that person. I'm bored, they're boring, I don't want to get married to them. Wallahi, this is things that I've seen and that I've heard of has happened in the past. You get a little bit bored, khalas. But realistically, why they got bored is there's only so much times that you sit there and she sits there and the dad's looking at you there and you can say, what did you eat today? Oh, that's good. I like that food. Yeah, that's good. I went to the park. There's only so much times that you can ask those questions. You need a bit of substance. So what is good is you get whether it's a few weeks, a month, 2 months, whatever. Once the main questions, this is what it's based on. Once the main questions are asked and they feel comfortable, then take the next step. Whether the next step is engagement, but then the issue with engagement is you still can't take that next step in question because you're still going to be sitting across from them. The only benefit realistically to the engagement is that it prevents other people from coming and asking for her as well. You know what I mean? And it stops him from going and asking for other girls as well. Culturally and that's in terms of the male side. So that's the benefit of the engagement. So even that, I wouldn't extend it. I would say once you feel comfortable with each other and happy that you've asked the right questions, do the nikah. That's my encouragement. Do the nikah. Whether you move in together straight away or not, that's a decision between you and her and the father. But do the nikah. Why? Because then you can at least sit next to each other, talk. You can say nice words. You can flirt. Yani you can go out and have dinner together if the dad's happy with that as a thing. You can do more like that. Now what happens is you open up, the door is open to yani extra things, any extra questions. You know what I mean? And to kind of getting further in the relationship. Yes, everyone.
For me, I was like, at the time, I said, look, as long as when I show up, I don't hear any music, and like I'm not gonna dance with people I have no idea, like that sort of thing. And then when I leave, I don't care what you do. Is that?
No, I wouldn't encourage taking that approach. I would encourage taking the approach of no, like yani, this is something that because realistically you're going to live right now it's still a separate life, but you're going to live a life together. Yani, don't build the relationship on as long as you can do haram, but as long as I'm not doing it, that's fine. That's going to become an issue, especially when you have kids, because she's going to go to haram. What are you going to watch the kids every time she goes to haram? No, she's going to take it. Like, I'm not saying she's going to a club, but I'm saying, let's say she's going to her friend's birthday party, because to her, that's a normal thing. But you know that's haram. Not every single time you're going to say, you go to the birthday party, but leave the kids with me. The kids come back, she comes back, and you're like, don't tell the kids where you were every time she has to lie about it. You know what I mean? So you're going to live a life together. So don't build the life on, okay, do a haram party. Like, you go do a wedding, music, you go dance, but I'm not going to participate in it. I think that's setting up for, or that's a bad way to start. That's my advice. A bad way to start. So, you can celebrate. Well, and I would encourage the brothers as well not to be both encourage. Well, I would encourage from both perspectives. The sisters, don't be too extravagant in what you want, and the brothers, don't be stingy in what the sister wants. Have a kind of a common ground. If the lady says, or sometimes it's vice versa, sometimes it's the men that want the weddings. I don't know why, but sometimes it happens. Like, he's always dreamt about having his boys over and dancing. I don't know, but that's the reality. Sometimes that's what the thing. But anyway, my point is, if she says, I want $100,000 wedding, no, that's obviously not acceptable. But let's say she says to you, I want to rent out a nice hall and have the men and women on one section, each section, separate sections, and I want to have a nice dinner, and I want the sisters to be able to have a laugh and talk to each other, and then you guys have a laugh and talk to each other. Maybe the sisters do games or whatever it may be. Whatever, they want to have a little bit of fun. Don't be tight and say, no, what we're going to do is we're going to call, remember like I said yesterday, we're going to call Ali, he's going to come and do it, he's only going to charge us $1,000. So, you don't want to be super tight. She's also, a lot of the time, she's also dreamt about having something a little bit fun. Or maybe it's her parent, her mum. It might be her first daughter her first daughter that's getting married. She's always dreamt about like having a little bit of a wedding. Again, as long as it's halal, it's fine. Maybe she wants to do an all-women thing and play nasheed. Have nasheed play. And in that, she makes conditions of people to come that they have to be fully covered, and there's no photos. Like, she does her due diligence. She tries to stop the haram. There's only sisters there. It's an-nasheed, so it's halal. It's not halal, but it's halal. And she wants to have a good time with her friends. Again, don't be too strict with it. So have that middle ground. Brothers and sisters, don't overspend. Same with like honeymoon, same with anything. Honeymoon, you can argue whether it's even Islamically all right or not. This is not the point. But all of those things related to the to getting married, don't overspend on it. But it is okay to enjoy that time. Just think about the things that your money can go towards in the future. Yes. Abraham, you better have a girl in line if you're asking all these questions, bro. Tabarakallah.
This is what I did, and then it fell through.
Okay, alhamdulillah. If the reality is, this is the reality. You can either say that's not the type of thing that I want, for the sisters, he's asking, let's say that she's happy to do it all in halal, but the parents want it haram. You can either say, okay, this is a bad start, and the parents are going to pressure haram all the time, and that might be a deal breaker, and you might walk away from the relationship in general. Or you can sit there and say, listen, your parents can what they want, but I'm not going to do it. So what's going to happen? Then that's the onus is on them. The question is on them. Is she going to end up doing a wedding? She's not going to end up doing a wedding. If she ends up doing it and does it in haram, then I would advise that's not a good start. She's more putting the precedence, or she's putting the priority of her family before like what is halal and haram. You know what I mean? Yes, I'll answer your question first.
After the nikah.
Hmm.
After the
Alright.
nikah.
There's difference of opinion. The question is, let's say after the nikah, I'm just going to say it in more clear way than you said it. Let's say after the nikah, often what happens is the dad will say, if let's say the two haven't moved in together straight away, she's living at her dad's house, you're living in your family's house. Often the dad will say, listen, you guys can go out, you can talk, you're married, but you're not allowed to consummate the marriage. You're not allowed to have intercourse. That's something that happens very commonly. Now, whether that condition is Islamically allowed to be set or not, there's ikhtilaf, there's difference of opinion. And that's not what I'm going to get into. What I will get into is, even if you are the biggest mujtahid, meaning you can study fiqh and you can, like, you know so much about rulings that you're a person that you don't need to follow like a sheikh or a madhab. You yourself, you take rulings based on a hadith and that. That's what a mujtahid is. You know a hadith, you can say this hadith and this ayah comes towards this ruling. Even if you're that knowledgeable and you come to the conclusion to say that it's not permissible to set those conditions, I still think that it's so low for you to go and do it behind the father's back after he's asked for you not to. And to me, that's so low. That's so low. Yani, just think about that if it was your daughter. All you've asked for, and there's wisdom behind it. For a dad to ask, it's not just, oh, I can't imagine my daughter doing that thing. If that was the reality, he wouldn't get his daughter married. But there's wisdom. What's the wisdom behind it is, even though you've done nikah and you're married, until you're moved in together, that's really when you've made the commitment. A lot of people do nikah, they do the aqd nikah, and they're technically married, and then they live separately, and then they break it off. It happens a lot of times. Yani, when you move in together, that's when the real commitment happens. So what is the dad often saying? He's saying, just wait till you've fully committed and moved in together, then consummate the marriage. Because it's one thing for my daughter to have done the contract and then get divorced and remain as a virgin, than it is for her to do the contract, not be a virgin anymore, and then you divorce her. Yani her statistics of being able to get married have just gone lower. The desirability for a lot of people have gone lower. Whether you want to argue if that's right or not, it's gone lower. You know what I mean? For you as a man, for the dad, the father of this girl, your future father-in-law, your future wife, the mother of your future children, for you to not even have the honor and the respect enough to say, if that's what he wants, then I'm going to uphold it, then to me, this is a low person. Wallahi, it's a low person. For my encouragement to the brothers, wallahi, if the father ever sets that as a condition, yani even if you have the sheikh give you the fatwa to say that it's the condition is not right to be placed, wallahi, don't do it. Don't do it. Have patience. Wallahi, have patience. Usually the dad is happy for you to move in together. Usually they're doing that. You guys don't move in straight away because one person is saving up or whatever it is. So you just try to make that process go quicker.